From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Millicent Walker.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, no option is off the table in restoring democracy in Niger Republic. ECOWAS chairman, President Bola Tinubu says military intervention is inevitable if all other measures fail. 20 persons said to have been killed, over 10 others injured in Haipang district of Bakinladi local government area of Plateau state following attacks by gunmen. Governors of Southeast states reaffirmed their resolve to fight insecurity decisively in the region as police neutralized 3 persons after a raid of IPOB camp in Enugu.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's oil production drops to 1.29 million barrels per day in July, according to Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission.
On sports news tonight, the 2023-24 English Premier League returns on Friday night with newly promoted Burnley hosting reigning champions Manchester City at Turf Moor.
And from the nation's capital, the Federal High Court in Lagos adjourned till August the 15th hearing in the applications filed by the suspended CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele and the federal government on the charge of illegal possession of firearms by Mr. Emefiele.
And in international news from London, at least 36 people have died in wildfires sweeping through the Hawaiian island of Maui.
Leaders of the Economic Community of West African States do not seem to be mincing words on their stance in the effort to restore democratic order in Niger Republic. According to them, no option is off the table in resolving the political crisis, and that includes the use of force. This resolution followed the second extraordinary session of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of ECOWAS, which took place at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Our State House correspondent, Larry Lasisi, reports.
It's the second extraordinary session of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the ECOWAS taking place at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. The focus of this meeting is the political situation in Niger Republic following the expiration of the 7-day ultimatum given for the return of democratic rule to Niger.
Excellency,
the chairperson of ECOWAS welcomes the members with an outline of the efforts by the bloc, including sanctions and mediation efforts that are yet to yield results. He advocates more diplomatic efforts and dialogue.
It is crucial that we prioritize diplomatic negotiations and dialogue as the bedrock of our approach. We did. And we still look to engage the party involved, including the coup leaders, in honest discussion to convince them to relinquish power as suggested.
The body then goes into a closed-door session to review the developments since its last meeting.
We have reaffirmed our commitment.
Hours later, the doors are thrown open and the chairperson gives his closing remarks. He reiterates that all options will be considered in ensuring a peaceful resolution of the situation in Niger.
No option is taken off the table, including the use of force as a last resort. If we don't do it, no one else will do it for us.
It is then time for the reading of the communique.
Uphold all measures and principles agreed upon by the extraordinary summit held on Niger on 30th July 2023. Underscore the determination of the ECOWAS authority to keep all options on the table for the peaceful resolution of the crisis. Enforce all measures, in particular border closures and strict travel bans and assets freeze, on all persons or groups of individuals whose actions hinder all peaceful efforts aimed at ensuring the smooth and complete restoration of constitutional order. Direct the Committee of the Chief of Defense Staff to activate the ECOWAS standby force with all its elements immediately. Order the deployment of the ECOWAS standby force to restore constitutional order in the Republic of Niger.
ECOWAS is urging the African Union to endorse their decisions while asking partner countries and institutions, including the United Nations, for support to ensure a quick resolution of constitutional order in Niger Republic. Some of the presidents who spoke later make clear their resolve on the matter.
ECOWAS cannot accept this. This is not a matter of Nigeria against Niger, not at all. The decision that we have made today, and I hope it will be implemented immediately, is a decision of ECOWAS. All the head of states think that we have tried dialogue with the Bush of Niger. I personally consider this as a terrorist act, and we cannot let this continue. We have to act. The position of Côte d'Ivoire, which has been endorsed by all of the head of states, and that we have been able to tell these putschists that their place is in the barracks.
Well, if we had made mistakes in the past, we should try to correct it now. There is always a time to get started. I think it was a mistake not to have taken action previously, but now that we are together on this, we should take action to make sure that it does not continue.
It's the end of the second extraordinary session on the political situation in the Republic of Niger, and it's now time to see if this set of resolutions will bring the much-needed stability and the return of democracy to that country. From the presidential villa, Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
Well, more on today's decisions by the ECOWAS leaders in Abuja. Earlier, I spoke with a former permanent secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Joe Keshi. I started by asking him on our program, The World Today, what he understood by the pronouncement of ECOWAS on the option of use of force in Niger.
We're going to go in militarily. That's what it means. In other words, if the gentlemen or the military men in Niger continue to reject all peaceful options, it should be clear to everybody now that we will soon have war, at our border between Nigeria and Niger, despite all appeals, made particularly to our own president that war should be avoided between the two sisterly countries. I'm actually surprised that they are still maintaining that all options remain on table and that, they should activate ECOWAS stand force, I don't know, but as I said, I'll honestly wait to see the final print, but certainly what I've heard is not encouraging. This is not what I was expecting. I was expecting a balanced middle-of-the-road approach. But looks as if at the end of so many hours, the ECOWAS is still maintaining its initial position that they will do this militarily.
All decisions taken by ECOWAS in Niger. What do you think has been the body language of the AU since this whole thing began?
Well, normally you should expect that AU will support ECOWAS position, because in issues like this, normally once a regional body has taken a position, AU, operational practice is to support the regional body. And of course, the same thing will happen, that the United Nations would also support the African Union and AU in whatever efforts they decide to engage in. So what they did in calling on the AU they want to get a larger regional support for whatever action they may eventually have settled for.
But is there a fine print that says, and when it comes to ECOWAS speaking, and that is the bloc continues to seek the reinstatement of Mohamed Bazoum. I mean, is that clear to you in print?
Well, look, even my first surprise is that the resolution started by, I think the first resolution or the first decision and the second decision and the third was actually on the president. And I don't think that's the real issue. I would have thought that the issue of the president release and the rest will come, at the bottom. In other words, you emphasize the key issues. And I thought we've been seeing, I don't know whether it was a fake video. We've seen video circulating that the president has been released. But again, I grant to the heads of states, they have a better information than all of us. So maybe the president has not been released. And so they are right to call for his release and to grant him access to his family and treat him well, and not to continue to put him in detention unnecessarily, So, but that the fact that they are paying some serious attention to him, again, it's a surprise to me, because I'm not too sure they did this in the case of other leaders that were overthrown by their respective military.
A lot appears to be at stake with this. But finally, Ambassador Joe Keshi, maybe that's also another tactic, have diplomacy on the one hand and then have that military option on the other hand together.
Sure, it's a strategy, it's an option. But then they did not announce any new measures, to engage the coup plotters or the new government in Niger. Nothing was said about engaging them. Nobody was again put in place or standby to go talk to them for the second time. Look, when you do things like this, you must return back. And nobody has ever told you that one negotiation is what is needed to solve an intractable problem like this. You probably need to do more talking, more negotiation, more outreach, to the people and involved. So I sincerely hope that in addition to what they've decided, saying all options are on the table, that they would also send more envoys, to Niger, to again appeal to the new rulers to be reasonable, to be rational, and to work with ECOWAS to find a peaceful settlement of this crisis.
My earlier discussion with Ambassador Joe Keshi. Meanwhile, human rights lawyer Mr. Femi Falana is stressing the need to explore diplomatic solution to resolve the political crisis in Niger. In his statement on the developments there, the senior advocate of Nigeria asks ECOWAS leaders to jettison the military option and instead impose more sanctions with a view to isolating the military junta. He emphasized the need to address the root causes of the crisis in Niger Republic and enumerated some steps which he says, if followed, will arrest the ugly development there and, by extension, the sub-region. They include limiting tenure of elected presidents to 2 terms, an end to the control of natural resources by imperialist forces, and instead empowering the people to control the Commonwealth of member states, an end to disobedience of court orders by ECOWAS leaders, or what he describes as contempt of African leaders for rule of law and human rights. According to the human rights lawyer, the vote for dialogue by West African security chiefs during their meeting in Abuja reflects the wishes of the people of West Africa and should be respected. Now to internal security matters. 20 persons are said to have been killed with over 10 others injured by assailants in Haipang district of Bakinladi local government area, Plateau State. Residents of the community say the attackers invaded the community in the early hours of today while they were asleep. They explained that the efforts of vigilantes in the community was not enough to ward off the attackers, who had superior firepower. The duel with the attackers resulted in the death of 4 of the vigilantes as the attackers set ablaze houses and residents who were unable to escape from the sudden attack. A resident, Mr. Mark Pam, was said to have lost 5 relatives, comprising his brother, wife, wife, as well as 3 children. The Plateau State Police spokesperson, DSP Alfred Alabo, said that security has been reinforced in the community with personnel on the trail of the attackers. In part 2, after the break, governors of southeast states reaffirmed their resolve to fight insecurity decisively in the region as police neutralized 3 persons after a raid of IPOB camp in Enugu State. That's in a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television. Here's a reminder of our top stories. No option is off the table in restoring democracy in Niger Republic. ECOWAS chairman President Bola Tinubu declares, says military intervention is inevitable if all other measures fail. 20 persons said to have been killed, over 10 others injured in Haipang district of Bakin-Ladi local government area of Plateau State following attacks by gunmen. Governors of the southeast states reaffirmed their resolve to fight insecurity decisively in the region as police neutralized 3 persons after a raid of IPOB camp in Enugu. And at least 36 people have died in wildfires sweeping through the Hawaiian island of Maui. With security in the southeast, 3 gunmen suspected to be members of the indigenous people, proscribed people of Biafra, have been neutralized by the police in Igboeze North local government of Enugu State. Channels Television gathered that the police launched an onslaught against IPOB ESN elements in the early hours of today in their camp at the Imufu Forest in Enugu-Ezike axis. Meanwhile, the Commissioner of Police in the state, Ahmed Amani, has warned all non-state actors to stop further attacks on innocent residents or be forced to relocate from the state.
For some time now, residents of Enugu State in Nigeria's southeast region have witnessed peaceful atmosphere following a pause in attacks by unknown gunmen in communities across the state. But on Tuesday, gunmen in a Toyota space bus invaded the state, threatening to unleash mayhem in some communities. Rising to this occasion, the Enugu State Commissioner of Police, Ahmed Amani, directed the Command Operations Department to clear off the outlaws. A joint security operation led by Deputy Commissioner of Police Operations, Olasoji Akinbayo, embarked on coordinated intervention against the enforcer of the illegal sit-at-home and other wanton killings within Enugu-Ezike axis, with attack on their camp located at Imufu Forest. Their abode was then set ablaze. The ensuing gun duel left 3 suspects neutralized. 4 pump-action guns, 1 locally made revolver pistol, and a fabricated pistol were recovered. Other items recovered are IPOB insignia, various amulets, army uniform with a name tag, and a sack with 30 cartridges.
Well, in the meantime, governors of the southeast region have reaffirmed their commitment to fight insecurity decisively in partnership with the federal government and other stakeholders. According to the chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum and Governor of Imo State, Mr. Hope Uzodimma, the governors unanimously agreed that perpetrators and sponsors of insecurity in the region are criminals and should be treated as such. He briefed journalists after a closed-door meeting of the governors at the Enugu State Government House.
The Forum firmly resolved to fight insecurity decisively individually and collectively, in partnership with the federal government of Nigeria and other stakeholders. We commend the security agencies for their cooperation and achievements thus far, and encourage them not to relent. We wish to categorically state that the perpetrators of the insecurity and their sponsors in our region are criminals and should not be seen as legitimate agitators. Therefore, upon arrest, they should be dealt with in accordance with the laws of the land. The forum resolved to hold the Security and Economic Summit for Southeast region on a date to be announced soon.
Well, more on the security situation in the southeast. This time, the House of Representatives is asking security agencies to synergize and curb the escalating insecurity in the region. Chairman of the ad hoc committee investigating insecurity communities in Abia State made this call during a meeting with security agencies in Abuja.
The House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee is meeting with security agencies to interface on the security challenges in Isikwato and Umunochi local government areas in Abia State. The chairman of the committee, Honorable Obinna Agwocha, is seeking a collaboration with security agencies to tackle the menace.
Instances of criminal activities, banditry, kidnapping, assassinations, and communal clashes and religious crises and threats to life have shaken the very foundations of our societies. By working in synergy, our resources and expertise and perspectives, we can create a stronger front against insecurity and strengthen the bonds that bind us together.
Meanwhile, the Ad Hoc Committee investigating the 375-kilometer Abuja-Kano Expressway project has summoned the Ministry of Works and Contractors of the project. The chairman of the committee laments the level of work on the project after over 400 billion naira had been expended.
Irrespective of the security challenge, contractor, I have to tell you that this committee is not happy with what has been received and what has been done so far. You have gotten over 400 and something billion, and you are looking at it as one contract. So basically, you have just a little over 50% of it that you have collected, that you have done, and you have collected well more than 50% of the total amount. That is not encouraging.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on Job Racketeering continued its sitting following the failure of the former desk officer in charge of IPACE at the Federal Character Commission, Mr. Haruna Kolo, to show up at the hearing. The lawmakers called for his arrest.
The committee adjourned and asked him to appear the next day. He didn't. We called on him to appear yesterday through his agency, AMCOM. He's nowhere to be found. We hereby adjourn to write to the Speaker of the House of Representatives to issue a warrant of arrest in respect to Haruna Kolo and compel his appearance before this committee. Thank you.
The committee has issued a deadline of August the 14th for the Asset Management Company of Nigeria and other agencies that have disobeyed their earlier summons to appear before it.
And we head to our Abuja studios for more stories. Nota, it's over to you.
Thank you, Millicent. And we turn to the legal matters here in Abuja. The Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has adjourned till Tuesday, August the 15th, for the hearing in the application filed by the suspended Central Bank Governor, Godwin Emefiele, seeking to stop the federal government from further remanding or prosecuting him on the charge of illegal possession of a firearm or any other charge. Justice Nicholas Oweibo ruled that the application, which touched on the jurisdiction of the court, was priority and would be taken alongside another application filed by the government seeking leave to appeal against the order granting bail to Mr. Emefiele. Counsel to the suspended CBN governor and senior advocate of Nigeria, Victor Okpara, told the court that the application was germane, given the persistent disobedience of the DSS to a clear, direct and potent order of the court on the bail application of his client. But the counsel to the federal government told the court that the prosecution had filed its application seeking leave to appeal and to stay the proceedings of the court pending appeal. The court then adjourned to August the 15th for hearing of both applications. Meanwhile, in Abuja, Justice Ahmed Mohammed of the Federal High Court has re-emphasized his earlier order that status quo be maintained in the alleged move to impeach the Deputy Governor of Edo State, Philip Shuaibu, by the Governor, Godwin Obaseki, over their differences. Justice Mohammed made the order following the inability of the Department of State Services, DSS, to file an application showing cause why the main suit should not be entertained. The trial judge had on August the 4th issued the temporary order while ruling in a motion on notice filed by Shuaibu asking the court to stop the move to ease him out of office by his principal. At the day's proceedings, other defendants told the judge that they were ready, having filed their proceedings, but the counsel for the DSS told the court that he was yet to file the application requested by the court. Justice Mohammed adjourned the matter to August the 22nd, urging the DSS counsel to file his proceedings within 24 hours, while noting that the IGP is very aware of the matter in court. The IGP was, however, not represented in court. And away from the courts to infrastructure, the East-West Road, which connects the south-south, southeast and western parts of the country, has remained in a barred state and uncompleted despite several attempts to fix it. Worried about this development, the Senate put in place an ad hoc committee led by Senator Abdul Ningi to embark on a fact-finding mission on the extent of damage on the road. Based on this mandate, the committee members have visited Delta and River states for an on-the-spot assessment of the East-West Road.
The East-West Road is one of the strategic and critical road infrastructure that cuts across the entire South-South geopolitical zone of the nation, and it serves as a major hub of moving people and goods from that region to other parts of the country. But over time, the road has been neglected. Unhappy with this situation, Senate had a committee investigating the non-completion of the road this year in Delta State on a fact-finding mission. Led by its chairman, Senator Abdul Ningi, and other members, the team pays a courtesy visit to the governor of Delta State, Mr. Sheriff Obariwari, at the government house in Asaba. Governor Obariwari underscores the importance of the East-West Road to the economic development of the oil-rich Niger Delta region, urging the committee to do all that is necessary to fix that road.
My appeal for this visit is that people should fast-track because the next dry season. You know, road works are usually done during the dry season. And I believe that if you come up with your report and also in your budget, money are provided. Because when you see what is on ground and monies are provided, then good work can be done.
From the Delta State Government House, the delegation moves to the Onweru Bridge along the road to inspect the collapsed section damaged by last year's flood. More inspections follow, after which some of the members share their thoughts on the state of the road.
Having had the physical appearance and the physical knowledge of the road, we will now go back to Abuja and do a formal public hearing with documentations that we are able to assess, and therefore with the physical exercise we have undertaken, we'll be able to decipher which company did what. We are all convinced that given the amount of money that has been appropriated and disbursed in the name of East-West Road, what is on ground is not commensurate with what has been poured in. And if we keep doing projects and the people are not getting value for money, that partly accounts for agitation, high cost of living, disruption of economic activities. So the foundation for lasting and sustainable peace requires that Nigerians, and in particular the Niger Delta, where the bulk of our oil resources are coming from, that the people see evidence of development, that money not just appropriated in their name, that it is translated to action on their ground.
Next up for the team is Port Harcourt, the River State capital, and it's straight to the government house where they met the state governor, Mr. Similaye Fubara. Governor Fubara minces no words in expressing his displeasure about the current state of the East-West Road. He then urges the members to do whatever it takes to give the people plying the road a pleasurable driving experience.
This particular one, knowing fully well how important this section, the Element Junction to One, I don't even think that it should be this reason of too much talk about it. I wish your visitation is to give a definite position, as in tomorrow I want this road to commence.
For the chairman of the ad hoc committee on East-West Road, Mr. Abdul Nengi, the project is not just strategic to the Niger Delta region, but the whole nation.
We started yesterday from the beginning of the East-West Road axis of Delta State, and we perused through Bayelsa, and we slept in Bayelsa, and we decided to undertake this road in broad daylight so as to give us a very clear picture of what is happening.
After the visit, Governor Fubara took the ad hoc committee members on a tour of the failed portions of the LMS section of the East-West Road to see things for themselves.
And still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's crude oil production drops to 1.29 million barrels per day in July. That's according to the Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. That's on Business News. Join us again.
ChannelsTV.com has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via your smart TV platforms on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku.
Welcome back. In other stories, Amnesty International is calling on the federal government to prioritize issues concerning young people because of the critical role they play in the society. The country director of the organization, Mr. Issa Sanusi, stated this at the commemoration of the International Youth Day in Abuja.
Nigeria, we have majority of the population under 35. But how many people within this age range are in the cycle of decision-making? 4, 0 sometimes. And we continue to have people in their 70s, in their 60s, and above, you know, managing things continuously from one government to another. I think that is not good for our country, because these young people that are left out are the ones who are going to form the future. Therefore, they deserve a right. They deserve a place on the table. They deserve to be part of the government. They deserve to be part of decision-making. They deserve to be trusted with huge, high responsibilities, because that will prepare them for the future, and that will make the future of our country better. But right now, it is not working. Despite all the efforts and the rhetorics and the stories about, you know, too young to run and all that, it had never made any impact. We have to be very serious about bringing young people. And if we continue to sideline young people, I think the future is not going to be what we will want it to be.
And that's all from our Abuja studios. Back to you, Millicent.
Thanks, Nota. And the governor, Agbu Kefas of Taraba State, says his administration has formulated a comprehensive palliative initiative to alleviate the burden placed on residents due to the removal of fuel subsidy. As part of the measures, the governor has approved the implementation of the new national minimum wage. The governor unveiled the state-level palliative measures to critical stakeholders in the state capital, Jalingo.
This meeting between the governor of Taraba State and stakeholders is to address the issue of minimum wage, as well as roll out the palliative initiative to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal. Part of the palliative measures include a committee that will conduct a comprehensive needs assessment to understand the specific challenges by different communities and demographics caused by the fuel subsidy removal, in addition to reviewing local solutions, such as retrofitting vehicles from fuel-propelled engines to gas and electric-powered engines.
During this assessment, we will review local solutions, such as retrofitting vehicles from fuel-propelled engines to gas and electric-powered engines. We will review the pros, cons, and other strategies for implementations. This will enable us to develop timely implementable solutions that will eventually mitigate the negative impact of fuel subsidy removal.
Other measures, according to the governor, include partnering with local transport unions to subsidize public transport fares, investing in skills development, social support networks, and renewable energy promotion. The governor then drops some cherry news: the implementation of the national minimum wage from October this year.
We will implement the federal government-approved minimum wage effective October 2023 to civil servants in Taraba State. We will ensure that the Ministry of Energy and Economic Development implement energy efficiency programs and promote the adoption of renewable energy sources such as solar power in homes, offices, and business areas.
The pronouncement elicits positive reactions from the organized labor as they pledge to ensure industrial peace.
Thanks to his sensitivity to the plight of workers, thanks to his compassion, thanks to his magnanimity. On our part as workers, we shall reciprocate that gesture by being committed to our duties. And on the part of organized labor, he may not be tired with our own demand.
A key factor which he did not mention, and he asked me to elaborate now, is the issue of free education. He said it should be among the first he mentions in the list, but that if I'm making this press conference, I should make it known and clear that it's one of the main things he has done because his priority is for education and healthcare.
The state government has started the constitution of the Palliative Care Committee for the implementation of the measures, and the residents are optimistic that disbursements will commence soon.
Now to company news. One of Nigeria's leading cement companies, Bua Cement, has launched a promo tagged "Win with the King." The Director of Sales and Marketing at the company, Mr. Nasiru Ladan, explains that the promo is designed to appreciate and reward the support enjoyed by the company.
Gathered in here are customers, stakeholders, and staff of Bua Cement. They have gathered to witness the launch of a new sales promo tagged "Win with the King," which the company says is designed to appreciate and reward the support enjoyed by the company from its numerous end users. Wow. A round of applause, please. Beautifully dressed and seated guests were treated to a stage play and a captivating cultural dance display. From Thursday, August 10 to October 31, 2023, loyal customers are expected to win loads of household items from the promo and a star prize of 4 GAC MG5 executive cars. There will be a raffle draw by 20 people to win the cars and a consolation prize of 1 million naira each for the 16 participants.
These cars are going to be won through a raffle draw that 20 persons will participate in. After the 4 lucky winners emerge from the raffle draw, the 16 others that participate will have a consolation prize of 1 million naira each.
We like to support our customers. It's important to have them loyal to us, and also in line with the future expansion of the company. We need to ensure that our customers are going to continue with us, and in a way is to reward them. In addition, we need also, we'll use this to sustain our sales and also to continue to build our brand awareness.
The instant prizes include airtime of various value across mobile networks, tricycles, LED TVs, generators, Android phones, rechargeable lamps, free bags of boa cement and T-shirts.
All the users of boa cement are eligible. Those that are exempted are all boa cement staff, their relations, the vendors, and all those that have a role to play in the organization of this sales promo. The promo starts today, being 10th of August, and it will run through up to the 31st of October 2023.
The promo covers the company's 2 plants in Obu and Sokoto, while the redemption centers are spread across the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory.
Time for business news now. Here's Melinda Kilami.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Many thanks, Millicent. Welcome to Business News. Nigeria's crude oil output has fallen to a month low as it drops to 1.29 million barrels per day in July, and that's according to the latest report by the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. The report by the oil regulator shows that production fell 12.56% from the 1.48 million barrels per day in June this year. A breakdown of the data reveals crude oil production for the month was 1.08 million barrels per day, while unblended and blended condensate were 38,258 and 174,509 barrels per day. The loss can be attributed to the temporary shutting of the Forcados terminal last month due to a potential leak at the export terminal. The Central Bank of Nigeria says foreign exchange inflows into the country rose to $2.55 billion in 2 months following the unification of the Naira. According to the Apex Bank, total inflows into the investors and exporters window increased for the second consecutive month in June to 1.41 from $1.14 billion in May. However, the CBN notes that the June inflows came from local companies and exports. Customers of First Bank Limited have reasons to smile as the company unveils its Digital Experience Center, the second of its kind by the bank at the University of Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. According to the bank management, the new experience is to improve efficiency as it satisfies customers across the country. It adds that the Digital Experience Center will also reduce fraud, forgery, and other vices associated with financial transactions.
The management of First Bank Nigeria Limited, led by the Chief Executive Officer of the First Bank Group, Mr. Adeshola Adedunton, and the University of Ibadan management team, led by its Vice-Chancellor, Professor Kayode Adebowale, witnessed a new vista in banking as the Digital Experience Center is unveiled by the gate of the institution in the Oyo State capital. First Bank's Digital Experience Center was established to create efficiency within the system to reduce fraud and at the same time make banking services accessible to individuals without internet services.
Part of the strategic reason why we did this is people without internet access, they can easily walk in there and basically just use the machine either to open an account or to transfer money on their own or issue cards.
The state-of-the-art hub puts customers at an advantage to experience world-class innovative banking services that puts all powers in their hands, where human interface is replaced with robots.
Technology allows you to do your business from anywhere, anytime, on any device. So the normal time you will spend moving from one place to the other, you can achieve that through technology, by phone calls, banking, collections, and so on and so forth.
But there are concerns that robots may displace people in the banking industry. Fears the First Bank CEO says are unfounded, as human resources will be diverted to more productive areas of the banking system.
Based on where technology is today, there are certain jobs that ideally you should not be given to a graduate to do. So the more of those mundane work that you can give to technology to do, and then get university graduates to go and do more intellectually stimulating work.
The Vice-Chancellor of the University of Ibadan applauds the financial institution's leadership in the banking industry.
It's going to be a meeting point between town and gown, and that's what we are talking about. There will be a lot of experience. There will be a lot of things that the student will gain, and there will be a lot of things that also the staff will be able to benefit from.
The Digital Experience Center is designed to cater to the growing and evolving needs of consumers and the banking public, enabling customers to navigate the digital landscape with confidence.
The equities market bounced back today by a 1.62% rise in the all-share index on bargain hunting by investors. Willie Bong tells us more.
Welcome to the Stock Market Report, and the bull stages a fantastic comeback to the market. The all-share index leaped in today's trading session by a massive 1.62%, and recouping some of the losses we saw in yesterday's trading session as it gained about 565 billion naira, and the index and the market cap also regaining the 65,000 level and the 35 trillion naira mark. And the stock that triggered this rebound, Dangote Cement. Remember, in yesterday's trading session, Dangote Cement pulled back the market, causing that massive dip we saw yesterday. But investors took advantage of this dip to buy up Dangote, and voila, the share price increased today by 29 naira 90 kobo to close at 349 naira 90 kobo. I think it's safe to say, as goes Dangote Cement, so goes the market. Let's look at the activity chart, shall we? We see money flow begin to pick up their value traded today, settling at 5.74 billion naira, and also volume also lifted by more than 0.5% today. It's a game of peekaboo for equities, but we'll see how trading ends tomorrow. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Will Ibang.
Many thanks, Will. Now let's check out the closing numbers of other major equities around the world. That's business news. It's back to you, Millicent.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks, Melinda. And U.S. President Joe Biden has declared a major disaster in the state of Hawaii following the death of 36 people in wildfires that have caused damage to several homes and infrastructure. The declaration means the federal government will provide funding to assist in the wake of the wildfires. Here's Simon Pusey with more on this and other international stories and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. At least 36 people have died in wildfires sweeping through the Hawaiian island of Maui. The wildfires began on Tuesday and spread quickly, fueled by nearby Hurricane Dora. Thousands of tourists and residents have been evacuated to makeshift shelters. President Joe Biden sent his deepest condolences to the families who have lost loved ones in the fires. Officials said the winds from Hurricane Dora, hundreds of miles to the southwest, had fanned the flames across the state. Hawaii's lieutenant governor told a press conference officials were still assessing the damage.
So the question is, what is the timeline for basically recovery? When would the schools be open? We understand one of the schools has been damaged. and what is the timeline for getting people back to affordable housing. Right now, we're still in the assessment stage. We're still trying to assess the amount of damage, but the road to recovery will be long.
A candidate in Ecuador's forthcoming presidential elections who campaigned against corruption and gangs has been shot dead at a campaign rally. Fernando Villavicencio, a member of the country's National Assembly, was attacked as he left the event in the capital Quito. He is one of the few candidates to allege links between organised crime and government officials in Ecuador. A criminal gang called Los Lobos has claimed responsibility. The gang has been involved in a number of recent deadly prison fights in which scores of inmates have been brutally killed. The US and the UN are concerned about the health and safety of Niger's elected President Mohamed Bazoum, who has spent more than 2 weeks under house arrest. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres said he was concerned about the deplorable living conditions Mr. Bazoum and his family were in. It comes as the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, arrived for an emergency summit on the situation.
With respect to President Bazoum, we are greatly worried about his health and his personal safety and the personal safety of his family. In all of the conversations Secretary Blinken has had with President Bazoum, inquiring about his safety has been one of the first things he's brought up. It is one of the reasons that Acting Deputy Secretary Nuland wanted to see him personally when she was in the country on Monday, and it's a matter that remains of concern to us.
An Australian journalist held in detention in China for 3 years as of this weekend has spoken publicly for the first time. Chung Lei said in an open letter to the people of Australia that she misses the sun and that sunlight shines through the window of her cell, but she can only stand in it for 10 hours a year. The finance reporter was working for China's state media television station when she was picked up, spending her first 6 months of detention in solitary confinement without charge. She's accused of passing on state secrets, something she denies. Hollywood writers have marked 100 days of striking, with contract talks stalled and people on the picket lines protesting what they described as a disregard for their demands. The strike began after negotiations between the Writers Guild of America and the major studios reached an impasse over compensation, minimum staffing of writers' rooms, and residual payments in the streaming era. Writers also sought to regulate the use of artificial intelligence. Picketers outside Netflix said they were undeterred by the length of the strike.
We can take them at their word. I think they wanted to wait us out. They wanted to starve us out. And I think they wanted us to be broken. And I think what's important to remember is that you can't break people who have already chosen a job where we're told no 500 times a day. We chose a hard job because we're resilient and because we love it. And so they can try to starve us out all day, but it's not going to happen. As Chris Kaiser says, they cannot outlast us.
And Taylor Swift, one of the world's biggest pop stars, has announced the release of her latest re-recorded album, 1989 Taylor's Version. Swift announced the release on her Instagram page, telling her fans it was her favourite re-record. The record is the 4th instalment of the Taylor's Version albums. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thank you so much, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. The Lagos State government has assured the Confederation of African Football of state-of-the-art sporting facilities and an enabling environment if Nigeria and Benin Republic join bid to host the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations become successful. The Deputy Governor of Lagos, Quadri Hamzat, who received the CAF inspection team, noted that the state had all the requirements to co-host the tournament with their neighbours. The 2023-2024 English Premier League returns on Friday night, with newly promoted side Burnley hosting reigning champions Manchester City FC at Turf Moor. Man City manager Pep Guardiola admits on the eve of his team's new season campaign that last season's remarkable treble success was a once-in-a-lifetime achievement as he tries to lower expectations for this season. Elsewhere, the FIFA Women's World Cup returns after a 2-day break, with quarter-final matches taking centre stage. At 2 a.m. on Friday, the Netherlands will face Spain at the Wellington Regional Stadium in New Zealand. The Dutch reached the quarterfinals by beating South Africa 2-0 in the last 16, while Spain booked their place with a 5-1 thumping of Switzerland. At 8:30 a.m., Japan will face Sweden at Eden Park, Auckland, also in New Zealand. Sweden knocked out the US on penalties in the round of 16, while Japan beat Norway. Meanwhile, Netherlands coach Andries Jonker insists he knows everything about Spain thanks to former Spanish international Damaris Egurola. Egurola made one appearance for the Spaniards in a friendly and was a regular in their youth teams, but the midfielder now plays for the Netherlands and is in contention to start in Wellington. That's sports news. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thanks, Ayotunde. And the main news again. Leaders of ECOWAS today reiterated their stance in the effort to restore democratic order in Niger Republic during an extraordinary session of the Authority of Heads of State and Governments of the region in Abuja. The leaders said no option is off the table in resolving the political impasse in that country, and that includes the mobilization of the ECOWAS standby force. And 20 persons have been reportedly killed, while about 10 others were said to be injured in Haipang district of Bakin Ladi local government area, Plateau State, following attacks by gunmen. That's news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.
Hello and welcome to another fantastic episode of Entertainment News on Channels Television, your one-stop shop for all things fashion, music and lifestyle. When it comes to showbiz, you know we got you covered. I am Ewalua Ogunbodede. Thank you so much for joining us. On the program today, Nigerian comedian Josh Too Funny appears on the American Got Talent show, cracks the audience up with campy characters. Femi Adebayo premieres new war